Greetings and welcome to our daily walk through the scripture for February the 25th. Your readings for today were to finish out Leviticus 16 and read both Leviticus 17 and 18. Mark chapter 7, finishing it out, and then the first 10 verses from Mark 8. Then to read Psalm 41 and Proverbs chapter 10, verses 15 and 16. Okay, have you ever seen rules on a hair dryer that say things like, do not use hair dryer in the bathtub? And you kind of look at it and go, duh. I mean, that's duh. But yet those rules were put there because somebody, somewhere, tried to use a hair dryer in a bathtub. Now, we look at it and we go, wow, why would you even do that? And yet that's what someone did. So that rule is there because someone somewhere did this rule. And Leviticus is actually kind of like this. Leviticus has a lot of rules that you would look at and go, this is a no-brainer. And yet, there were not just people, there were cultures and kingdoms and entire races of people that did all sorts of horrible and detestable things. See, we live in a world today that has a lot of moral law. Well, honestly, that law came as a result of Christianity. Even atheists, avowed atheists and stuff will admit that a lot of the great things that come out of society today, treating women and children with equality, slavery, the end of slavery, moral laws, do not murder, do not steal, those things, those all came about because of Christianity. And these were not always laws in the world. And you look at Leviticus chapter 18 and 17 and the ones before, but really Leviticus chapter 18, and there's this extremely long and in some ways kind of ridiculous list of rules of when to and when not to have sexual relations. But here's what I want you to remember. There were societies that were doing these things. There were peoples, and not just small, but groups of peoples that were doing these things. So we look at it and we read some of these rules and we're like, ew, that's nasty. And it was. I mean, it talks about not having sexual relations with your mother. It talks about not having sexual relations with your sister, with your aunt, with all these different things. There were societies doing this. It talks about how you shouldn't have, it's just a long list. And so as you read it, you're going to look at it and you're just kind of going to go, wow. And you are absolutely allowed to look at it and go, wow, those are some jacked up people back then. But ultimately, these things were for a variety of reasons important. They were important because, again, like we talked about last time, they set aside the people of Israel from all the other cultures. And remember, these are not people that are necessarily that far removed from the same kind of culture that Noah saw. I mean, there was not much good in the world when Noah was around. This is kind of the same way. There are cultures that the Israelites come in contact that they're surrounded by that have these types of lifestyles. And it shouldn't be a surprise. I mean, you go back and you look at Greek mythology, and you look at Zeus, and you look at the different Greek gods, and the sexual relations that they had with whom and how they had them, and all these other things. And frankly, it's really disgusting, and it's disturbing. God didn't want his people to be that. He did not want his people to go down that road. He wanted them to be holy. Remember, the definition of holy is to be set apart, to be different. So when we look at holiness, I think sometimes we get this idea that holiness is perfection. Holiness is not perfection. God is perfect and God is holy, but God is set apart. He is above everything. He is beyond everything, and that's what makes him holy. And that's what he wanted his people to be set apart and to be different. So a lot of these things, they are, like we've talked about, common sense. These are things that you look at and go, duh. But even in biblical history, you look at it. I mean, it talks about in here about don't Don't marry a woman, a wife, make a wife, and then marry your sister as a rival wife. Well, you can go back into the biblical history and see that worked really well for Leah, and yeah, it was a good thing. So anyway, yes, you are absolutely allowed to go, ooh, this is gross, this is disgusting. But I want you to look at it and realize that what God was doing was really unique and really different from anything that the world had ever seen. What we see as normal was truly, truly revolutionary. Okay, that's it for today. We'll talk next time.